Welcome to the Wednesday meditation service. I'm going to read the word for today from the Daily Word. Taking responsibility for my thoughts and feelings, as well as for my actions and reactions, is the key to spiritual freedom. Even if it's occasionally tempting to believe otherwise, nothing and no one can make me feel a certain way. As I live from this awareness, I notice I meet the circumstances of my life more calmly and with certainty and groundedness. I am responsible for how I meet life, which makes me irrepressibly and joyously free. Now, this statement, taking responsibility for my thoughts and feelings, as well as for my actions and reactions, will keep you healthy. A major cause of illness is something that's been done to us in the past, and we hold on to it, and we let it become part of our life. Well, and it's a seething kind of a feeling. Unless you have a positive experience, of course, that's a good thing. But if something that's happened that you can't let go of, that is hurting your body. So if you're getting any kind of physical problems, look to those thoughts that you're harboring. Let them go. Meditate every day on freeing those thoughts, those feelings that you're harboring. Meditate every day and use a strong affirmation. If you use Daily Word or the Course in Miracles, a statement from the Course in Miracles, it will change your life. You will become in the present. You will be present with everyone you're talking to, and you will then be a channel of healing for others instead of being a person that is unhealed. So you may not have illness right now, but if you harbor too long something that happened in the past, beware. Your body reacts. That's where illness comes from. So we're going to do a chanting today that is just let go and just feel the presence. Call and response. You are in the wind. In each twinkling star, you are all around me. You are never far. And my soul keeps singing. Oh, divine, all I want is you. Oh, divine, all I want is you. Is you. You are in the desert. You are in the sea. Dancing in the grasses. whispering in each tree. And my soul keeps singing. Oh divine, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want is you. Is you. You are in the mountains, laughing in each brook. You are peeping at me. Everywhere I look, and my soul keeps singing. Oh divine, all I want is you. Oh divine, all I want is you. Is you. I can feel your presence, where each pathway bends. I can feel you smiling, through the eyes of friends. And my soul keeps singing. Oh divine, all I want is you. 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 is you, is you, is you, is
Good evening, everyone. The late philosopher Alan Watts tells a story about a friend he knew that owned a coffee plantation in Brazil. And the owner of that plantation paid the native workers a very low salary. They made something like $1.50 a day for a full day's work in the coffee plantation. And he was persuaded eventually to double their pay. And when he did, the native workers showed up half the time to work, which is an interesting idea that these people understood the value of their free time, and they didn't have any real regard for more money. But in juxtaposition to that, we have other examples of people who today are having a difficult time being motivated enough to work. Or if they wind up working, they have no real initiative to do the work in a meaningful way, but to just get out of work as much as possible. This dilemma may have been exacerbated by the fact that the government gave out all of that money for COVID relief to people everywhere, getting checks, and then extending the unemployment people over and over again, extending that unemployment till people were going for 2 years without having to go to work to support themselves. And according to the labor people that do the polling and stuff like that, they're saying that today we don't have a lot of people who are motivated to work, and those that do work do not work with any type of initiative whatsoever. They just see if they lose the job, it doesn't matter, they'll be out of there. And it may be that they spent a great deal of time, idle time, not having to work. And this seems to go against a lot of the teachings that come to us down through the ages. You know that that famous scripture that famous, not famous, but a scripture that most people are aware of is idle time is the devil's workshop. And I think you can see that, and I think a lot of people that eventually retire discover that to be true. They retire after maybe working for 30 years, and then they have to find something to do. Many of them, rent or buy an over-the-road vehicle, an RV, and then they go to these different RV parks. But so many of them discover that life of retirement is just painful because they don't have anything they really feel connected to doing. So they're just kind of idling away and trying to make up some things to do in all of that time that they have. And so there's a problem there as well. And today, the whole thing just fluctuates tremendously when it comes to people not wanting to work. And this was a while back, it wasn't too long back, a couple of months back, they were saying that different companies couldn't find enough people to take the jobs that they had open. I suppose they weren't the highest paying jobs, they weren't high-tech jobs. The tech industry did very well during COVID, and they overhired. And now they're in a place where they're letting go, they're laying people off. So that's another problem altogether. But I think the concept of work is something that we've lost touch with an understanding of. And we have this quote from Emerson, which I think is relevant to the situation. This is Ralph Waldo Emerson, who's considered a modern day, or was in his time, a modern day enlightened guru. He has since gone on beyond the body, as did Alan Watts. Work, and thou canst not escape the reward, whether thy work be fine or coarse, planting corn or writing epics, so only it be honest work, done to thine own appreciation. It shall earn a reward to the senses as well as to the thought. No matter how often defeated, you are born to victory if you can still get up and work. The reward of a thing well done is to have done it. So work, and thou cannot escape the rewards, whether thy work be fine or coarse, planting corn or writing epics, so only it be honest work, done to thine own approbation. It shall earn a reward to the senses as well as to the thought. No matter how often defeated, you are born to victory if you can still go to work. The reward of a thing well done is to have done it. I think most of us have experienced that. I think most of us have put off certain projects that we weren't really want to get done. We just didn't want to get involved. Either cleaning out the garage or doing some cleaning of the attic, or maybe it was just cleaning of the house or doing some work that was tedious or difficult, and we put it off, and we put it off. And then we have these feelings of uneasiness about it. But when we finally do the work, there's a feeling of satisfaction that comes with it. And I think that you can notice that's a spiritual thing, to feel satisfaction at accomplishing a job that you gave your attention to and your time to. And so I think it tells us something about the nature of human beings. that we are not well off if we don't have some kind of work that we have to do. Not just work that we occasionally want to do or will get around to doing, but something that we have to get up for in the morning and get to doing. And that makes us feel good during the day and at the end of the day when we retire, because we feel like we made a connection with our soul nature. And part of the soul nature is that we should not just be good, but to be good for something. I think it was Edgar Cayce that coined that idea of not just being good, but be good for something. And that's our calling. So today, and I get an occasional phone call still from people who are saying that their son or daughter, who's grown up now, is living at home with them and doesn't seem to be motivated to go out and find work. So they're just living hand to mouth off of the hard work of their parents, or maybe the retirement income of their parents. But that is really some way that depletes the soul. You don't feel good and you don't feel God if you don't have something to do and be involved with, not just idling away. In fact, some people have attempted to just simply withdraw from work altogether and meditate and do the spiritual practice, but they usually find there's something missing in all that. Their meditations aren't enough, or I suspect some people are cut out for it. There are spiritual monks and religious people, nuns perhaps, who, their worship is enough for them. Although even though when you find out about the different convents that most of these nuns are in, and these monasteries which these monks live in, you'll always find that there's a schedule of work, and quite often it's assiduous work. It's working in farming and working in doing the laundry and doing the food and cleaning the temple and cleaning the altar and fixing all of the repairs and stuff like that. But everybody seems to be given some type of tasks that they must perform every day. And so it may be that deep down, the masters of those places understand that we're not whole in ourselves unless we do something. We have, good intentions aren't enough. We must be involved in accomplishing something we feel good about. It doesn't mean we're going to save the world. It just means that whatever little work that we do, it has a purpose. And it gives us a feeling of well-being to have accomplished that purpose every day. So Thomas Dekker will say this. This is an author. Happiness, I have discovered, is nearly always a rebound from hard work. It is one of the follies of people to imagine that they can enjoy mere thought or emotion or sentiment. You might as well try to eat beauty, for happiness must be tricked. She loves to see people at work. She loves sweat, weariness, self-sacrifice. She will be found not in palaces, but lurking in cornfields and factories and hovering over the littered desks. She crowns the unconscious head of the busy person. If you look up suddenly from hard work, you will see her, but if you look too long, she fades sorrowfully away. This is so beautifully put when you give yourself a thought about it. Happiness, I have discovered, is nearly always a rebound from hard work. It is one of the follies of people to imagine that they can enjoy mere thought or emotion or sentiment. You might as well try to eat beauty, for happiness must be tricked. She loves to see people at work. She loves sweat, weariness, self-sacrifice. She will be found not in palaces, but lurking in cornfields and factories and hovering over littered desks. She crowns the unconscious head of the busy person. If you look up suddenly from hard work, you will see her. But if you look too long, she fades sorrowfully away. I remember in my misbegotten youth how I tried to stay out of work as much as possible, doing as little as possible, and then having a goal of trying to gamble or involved with petty crime and lots of mischievous things that come to mind in ways to try to avoid honest labor. And of course, I didn't have happiness in those days at all. It's an interesting thing, the crowd of juvenile delinquents that I hung around with, they were so desperately unhappy, quite often fighting among themselves over the meaningless stuff in their lives. But I remember even growing up when I was involved with adults and working in a plant. I was working in Lever Brothers, which is a soap-producing plant, and margarine producing, and they had a number of other products, but they made different kinds of soap powders and certain kinds of tablets that you threw into your washing machine to wash clothes. And they made different types of margarine. They made royal margarine, imperial margarine. So the imperial margarine was the top of the line margarine. It was as close to butter, they felt, as you could get. In fact, they would put some butter into the margarine mix. But then they had, less expensive margarine, I guess, for those that thought they were getting a financial break, not getting the very best margarine. But I worked there for a while, and I worked in, you get shifted around by whoever supervisors shift you around for different work details. The plant is huge, and there's different departments. And in this one new department where they were making this imperial margarine, they had combined a couple of things. They had combined the boxing, first of all, the wrapping of the margarine in the little packages in the tin foil or the aluminum foil. And then that had to be placed into a small box that contained 4 bars of margarine. And then the box had to be shipped down the conveyor to a larger cardboard box that carried 20 of these boxes that would be shipped to supermarkets and wherever they were going to go. But when they combined this area, they set it up for 6 men to work the job, the shift. And they had these conveyor belts, and everything went on conveyors. They're just, roller skate wheels. And you physically shove your stuff down this conveyor, and then somebody else picks it up, or it goes on to another conveyor. But the 6 people working that shift, and I was one of them, figured out how to reconstruct the conveyors so that they only needed 4 men of the 6 to do the shift, to be working. So there was always 2 guys that had nothing to do, and they would take turns doing nothing, which meant that they smoked more. They sat by and smoked cigarettes, and then they raided the candy machine on the property, and they ate more candy and smoked cigarettes more than they usually did. They only used to get 2 20-minute breaks and a short half-hour food break. But it became such an interesting thing to watch, because I disliked the whole idea. When I came there to work, I wanted to just work as long as I could and get out of there. I didn't want to be taking time off and going back into the washroom and sit down and smoke cigarettes or eat candy. It just played upon me in the wrong way. I wasn't a good guy. I mean, I didn't mind getting out of work, but the whole purpose of that, every single day that you're working, became tedious in its own way. And the people that were taking up this time, I should mention, the reason why the whole thing came to an end was because they were giving 2 men off each night. They didn't have to punch in. They would punch in for them, even though they never showed up to work. So they had the conveyors set up. They were smart enough to have done that. But now everybody was getting more days off during the week. So, but they were the most unhappy, grumpy people when their hour was to get back on the job. They were just grumpy and irritable. And so there was something about the dishonesty and the lack of really involving oneself in doing a good job. I learned that lesson along the way, long before I became a minister and stuff, but I learned that lesson about work, that if you really give yourself to the task of what you're given to do, the time goes much faster and you feel good about it. You're not trying to get out of work and hide. They were always concerned. They even had a lookout. Part of your job was to keep an eye open just in case the supervisor showed up on the night shift and would catch everybody. They finally caught them and figured it out that they only needed 4 men to operate that shift. But as I was saying, wisdom, people wonder, where does wisdom come from? Wisdom comes from introspection. If we check in on ourselves when we're living, and we're awake and living and checking in on how we think and the actions we take, we will be guided by inside information, insight, how to do and live more effectively, joyfully, and happily. But that's not something most people do in the outer-directed world where they're not involved in spiritual practice. Introspection isn't part of their routine when they're living their lives, because the assumption is that they see life just the way it is, and that they can make decisions from their own observations. We have to get beyond that if we're going to find true happiness. We have to get beyond the illusionary definition of life that I am a separate body, mind, a separate body with a brain, and my observations will work for me to figure out how to live effectively. Really, unless you're checking in on yourself through introspection and contemplation, you're not going to find your way into that consciousness where you feel good. And when you're feeling good, you're feeling God, and you're feeling your essential nature, which is divine. The essential nature of every human being is divine. but we start off with a lot of limited ideas that have been presented to us by unenlightened peers, parents, teachers, authority figures, have a limited definition of life themselves. And so we grow up with this burden of discovering how to live effectively. And life will teach us if we're open-minded and open-hearted to it. And just as even from my wayward youth and wayward early manhood, and it was really wayward, as most of you, many of you know now that you're reading my book, but at least I had some reflection on, and I remember reflecting on the people I hung around with that were doing terribly stupid things, especially when we were pulling jobs, that is, breaking in entries. And I had to say to myself, I kept saying, these guys are so stupid, how could they do that? But eventually, having said that enough, it dawned on me, I must be stupid too, because I'm doing this with them, and I'm winding up with the same penalties and the same problems. So, there is the core of wisdom within us. If we give some credence to it, and that is if we take some time to contemplate our thoughts and actions for the day, especially do that, I mean, before we go to bed at night. Just run over the things that you were contemplating and doing during the day and see where you may have tried to cut corners or deceive something or cheat the system. And you'll find yourself losing energy in those spots. And if you decide to make up for it, you'll find yourself gaining energy and living more effectively. I'm going to read to you one more quote from Charles Kingsley. This is a renowned philosopher. Thank God every morning when you get up that you have something to do which must be done, whether you like it or not. Being forced to work and forced to do your best will breed in you temperance, self-control, diligence, strength of will, content, and 100 other virtues which the idle never know. This is Charles Kingsley. Thank God every morning when you get up that you have something to do which must be done, whether you like it or not. Being forced to work and forced to do your best will breed in you temperance, self-control, diligence, strength of will, content, and 100 other virtues which the idle never know. So, we have that very simple idea as part of our calling. And I'm talking about the majority of human beings in our Western culture. Since I grew up in the Western culture, I do not have any deep insights into, third world cultures. But into this one, I do have some insight. And you have some insight as well, which will come if you open yourself to check within. And the only thing you have to remember is that it's not enough, it doesn't work to just be good. You must be good for something. And if that motivates someone to serve, just to go out of your way and serve, and get something accomplished that is worth accomplishing, you're going to be doing yourself a great service. And you will be helping the world grow up and recognize that it is also divine. So, we are going to meditate together I'm going to use this mind-centering meditation that came down to us from the spiritual leader who is now recently passed on, Thich Nhat Hanh. This is a meditation that he would recommend as part of them. He did different meditations, but this is one that we can do. And the way we do this meditation is with the breath. We just do these words. So we do this in cadence. In, out, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. So we do this on the breath. You breathe in, it's the in, out, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. So just get ready and start to do that. I'll read it through for a while, and then you'll catch on and just run it with your mind as you breathe it and recite it in your mind. And then we'll have the bowl accompany us once we get into this, doing this. Yeah. This is beautiful. In, out, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. In, out, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. In, out, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. In, out, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. in this refined level of awareness, we will offer the names of those who have been submitted to our prayer list. As Norma calls the name, just let the divine thought, "You are whole," go to that name.
Jared Lee, Jenna Long, Anna, Judy, Mike, Marissa, Nancy, Matthew, Judy Kennedy, Kate and Neil, Steve Taylor, Kathleen, Chester, John Stovall, Megan, Pasco the doggy, Sissy the kitty, Mango the kitty, Walter Hayes, Marilyn Lehman, Tanya Hubbard, Emma Barnsley and family, Nicole Denny, Jackie Quinn, Sandra Bigtree, Beverly Jean, Sandy Spahn and family, Laurie Garcia, Ben, Taylor, Christine and Kevin, Paul, Kaya, the Ukrainian people, peace between Russia and Ukraine, the air, water, earth, all life on planet Earth.
D. Matthew and family, S. Daniel and family, S. Casey and family. Let us take a moment now to enter the vision of the Masters, to see this sublime, insightful awareness rising in the consciousness of everyone sharing this Boulder community with us. And we see this consciousness rising in the awareness of everyone sharing the state of Colorado with us. And it continues to expand in the consciousness of humanity, rising in the hearts, the minds, the very souls of everyone in these United States of America. And this spreading throughout the world, through every nation, every continent, every culture on earth. The awareness of the presence divine, interconnecting us with everything that lives, creating a harmony and a peace among all the creatures on the earth, and bringing purity to our atmosphere and to our waterways, restoring the plan of planet Earth as we pray. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and God is love. We will take an offering for unity now. Those of you watching on live stream, you can scroll down to a place that says donate. And we can all just bring to mind that gift we would like to make to Unity of Boulder and bless it with this offering statement and prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
We all come from God, and unto God we shall return. We all come from God, and unto God we shall return. Like a stream flowing back to the ocean, like a ray of light returning to the sun. We all come from God, and unto God we shall return. We all come from God, and unto God we shall return. Like a stream flowing back to the ocean, like a ray of light returning to the sun.
Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth and to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen. What have we got? Anything else this week?
Well, the bookstore is open, and we have refreshments, and there's wonderful gifts there if you want to start buying your gifts for Christmas. And we're having choir tomorrow at 6:30, and we could use some tenors. We have one, but we could use a few more. Arnie, it would be nice to see you back.
And Sunday we'll have our usual schedule. I will be doing the 9 a.m. service with Norma, and Santisha will be doing the 11 o'clock service. This Sunday I will be speaking about the ultimate yoga that the masters all share. The one yoga that all the enlightened masters take on. I'll be talking about that on Sunday at 9 a.m. And to everyone, we have tea and cookies for those who'd like to stay and chat through these doors to your left. To everyone, good night.